Hello, everyone. My name is Anika, and my mom is a psychologist with 15 years of experience. No, I'm not promoting her services. In fact, I'll tell you that I'm against her. Why? Because she ruined my personal life. Although I did make my fair share of mistakes as well. Anyway, I'll share my story with you, and you can write in the comments who's right between us. Shrey invited me on a date. Our moms introduced us. They've recently become friends, and they thought we'd get along. At first I didn't want to, but then we started chatting online, and I became interested and wanted to get to know him better. So he invited me on a second date because our first one was a secret from our moms. We wanted to meet without their knowledge. I liked him even during the second date, so I told my mom I'd go to dinner with him, and she immediately took me to the store, bought a beautiful dress, shoes, and just before leaving, she gave me a new phone, which made me incredibly happy. As a parting gesture, my mom hugged me, and in my clumsiness, I turned around and dropped my old phone. It fell to the ground and broke. My mom didn't let me get upset. She told me to just go to the restaurant and not worry about it. She said, "I'll fix it if possible. Don't think about it right now." So I left. Only on the way, I remembered that I didn't have Shrey's number on my new phone. I called my mom to ask her to send it to me, but instead I heard her terrible crying on the other end. Oh God, what happened? What went wrong? I was so anxious. Then my mom told me that Shrey ran off with another girl. I'm so sorry, sweetheart, but when I tried to fix the phone, I accidentally dialed Shrey's number and some girl answered. I asked who she was, and she asked who I was and said she was Shrey's girlfriend. I was so shocked I couldn't even say anything. Then she hung up. I got so angry that I threw the phone and broke it even more. I'm so sorry, my darling, my mom said. She allowed me to scream and swear. Mom, you're the best mom because you're also a psychologist. You understand how difficult it is for me right now. That's true, sweetheart. While people line up and pay me to talk to them for an hour, you do it for free. And I truly believe that my mom was an amazing specialist. She's a strong woman, too, as she raised me on her own, without anyone's support. But it didn't get any easier. Depression started to take over when we saw Shrey on the street one day. We were in the car, and he was out walking his dog. I felt sick again. At the moment he looked at me, my mom stepped on the gas. After an hour of tears, my mom offered me an alternative. She knew I loved sweets and started feeding me pastries every day. Then I gained 5 kilograms in a week, couldn't fit into my sari, and was even more shocked when she told me, "You must accept yourself and your body with gratitude. You're alive and healthy, and that's what matters." And I believed her. Some friends stopped talking to me, or maybe I stopped talking to them. I don't remember anymore. 2 weeks later, my mom became my only best friend, and I turned into a child again who waited all day for the evening to eat whatever my mom brought home from work. Then one day, my mom was delayed. I really wanted some treats. I went out by myself to get some sweets and stood in line. Someone behind me asked, "Who's the last in line?" And I said in my slightly harsher voice, "It's me." Shrey was shocked when he saw me. We looked at each other, and I dropped everything and hurried to leave. It was strange, but he followed me. "Don't touch me!" "Wait, what happened to you?" "What happened to me? Are you talking about the weight or the day you dumped me?" "Dumped? You shaved me off yourself and said you didn't want to see me anymore." "I never said that." "Oh, really? What about your message?" "What message?" He showed me our last conversation, and I froze. It can't be. I was on my way to meet you at the restaurant at the time, and my phone, it was with my mom, broken, I said, raising my gaze to Shrey's face. I was already imagining myself confronting my mother, but then his mother appeared. "Oh my God, Anika, what happened to you? You've clearly gained weight," his mother said. "Not more than you." My mom emerged from around the corner, and Shrey and I took a step back. They greeted each other in a strange manner, with a hostile vibe, it seemed. "Weren't you supposed to stay away from my boy? Isn't that right?" "Stay away? You should keep an eye on your son. It's you who's meddling in between. Your daughter is no match for my son. Your son is a complete idiot. And oh, heaven help me, I had to fatten up my daughter, and he still recognized and noticed her." "What?" "Moms, we need to know more. Let's all sit down together and you can tell us everything." "So, did you figure it out?" Yeah, initially our moms didn't want Trey and me to be together, but for some reason, they chose hypocrisy because they couldn't refuse. And then they planned to separate us, but it turned out to be a bit more complicated in the end. So what's happened since? I'm losing weight and I'm on a diet. Our moms don't interfere with us, and Trey and I are together. As long as it works for the two of us, we don't take our mom's opinions into account. And by the way, using psychological tricks against your own child, is that considered professional? My friend Leah and I were supposed to meet up one day. She was, as always, running late, so I called her number, but my phone was silent, as if it wasn't working. That seemed strange. Then my smartphone rebooted, and through my turned-off phone, I heard the voice of my ex. I couldn't make out the words he was saying, but I felt a chill shudder through my body. It was David, and he was tapping my phone after all. Greetings from France. My name is Michelle, and I'll tell you about my first and most unforgettable love, David. Or rather, about why he was tapping my phone. He worked in IT and knew a lot of things, including how to tap phones. I just didn't think he'd be so obsessed with finding out the reason for our breakup. As you may have guessed, I was the one who broke up with him, but honestly, I've never loved anyone more than I did him. I just had to take that step. After hearing his voice, I just threw my phone into the river. At that moment, Leah finally arrived and caught me crying my eyes out. Later, we went to school, and entering my classroom, I noticed David sitting there. Can you imagine? He was sitting right next to my desk. Trying to keep a completely indifferent face, I just sat down and buried my nose in a book, trying not to shake. My heart stopped. He then introduced himself like a stranger, saying he was new to the school, but I didn't pay him any attention. He then approached me during break, asking me how I was doing. We had conversations about basically nothing, but it was so difficult. So I asked to be excused from the rest of school and ran home. Why was he in my class, in my school? Was he mocking me or something? 6 months passed, and he was still there. And then, bang! I stumbled and fell, landing on my knee on the asphalt. Ouch, the pain was terrible. You shouldn't run away from me like that, David said, applying a napkin. What are you doing here? Nothing, just following you, and I saw you fall. He sat down next to me on the ground and started treating my wound. I pushed him away and asked, "Why were you tapping my phone? What do you want from me?" He looked into my eyes and then asked me why we broke up. I couldn't answer that question. I didn't answer. And then, the next 45 days, he walked beside me and asked me that same question every day. I was going crazy. It was too difficult. He transferred to my school just to find out the reason for our breakup, and I had no other choice. So you lied and said you fell in love with his friend, whom he hasn't spoken to for a long time? How could you? That's not even true. Exactly, but he won't ask any more questions and he'll leave. You hit him so hard. Couldn't you just tell him the truth about why you broke up? You love him, don't you? I do love him, but what difference does it make? I ran home in tears and got lost in memories closer to our breakup. Just before our breakup, I started having problems at home. Debts, and it turned out that the house, for which my grandmother and I had been paying the mortgage for the past 10 years, was taken away by my uncle and we were kicked out onto the street. I couldn't tell anyone about this. It was shameful that we were so poor. On that day, my boyfriend approached me and said that he'd bought a ticket to another city for the weekend and I'd be able to fly on a plane for the first time. It was my dream, but I refused. I couldn't go somewhere to relax while my grandmother was in such terrible conditions. She had a heart attack too. I hurt David's feelings and we quarreled. Here, my memories were interrupted by a call from an unknown number. I was surprised because it was the first call to my old grandmother's phone. Your number is listed as a close relative or guardian. Our patient, David, is now in intensive care. Come as soon as you can. Out of fear, I ran to the hospital. The operation had already been done. He was hit by a car when he was crossing the road, and he had an open fracture of his arm. Luckily, everything turned out fine. While he was sleeping, I hugged him, and then his mother entered the room. The one who ruined everything. What are you doing here? Didn't I make it clear half a year ago that I don't want you a foot near my son? I did as you told me. I disappeared. Allow me to stay with him for just 5 minutes. 5 minutes? You haven't been in his life for half a year and he's been doing better. And now you show up? Did you find him yourself? Oh, he transferred to your school, right? He hasn't been talking to me lately. I immediately understood that it was your doing. Do you still want to milk our family for money? What did you say? Why are you talking about money? I didn't take any euros when we broke up. Yes, you did it for free. It surprised me, to be honest. There is something more valuable than money, but you wouldn't understand. You can't love selflessly. But don't worry, we won't ever see each other again. I wanted to leave, but David grabbed my hand. After waking up from his operation, he whispered, "Mom, I know everything." I couldn't help but respond to his tenderness and sat down next to him, hugging him again. I realized how much I'd missed him all this time, and at the same time, regretted listening to his mother and feeling ashamed of my poverty. He had found out everything thanks to his wiretapping, and for this reason, he decided to transfer to my school so his mother wouldn't be able to harm me. What would you do if your boyfriend's mother didn't like you and demanded that you broke up?